Just looking at what are the best buds in the tree and the strongest. So here, these fruit buds here are what we call terminals. They're actually a very big fat fruit bud as the terminal bud on short shoots. And very often these short shoots grow from where there was a fruit the previous year. So that in fact was a short shoot, had its terminal flower, and it's grown several new short shoots from where there were flowers or fruit. These we know produce or have the greatest potential to produce large, high quality fruit. Now let's look at what is more typical fruiting structures on most apple trees, and those are fruiting spurs. And they are very similar, but much shorter generally. And the way we determine whether it's a short shoot or a spur is by the length. So these shorter ones, and more typically like this on a non-extending shoot, these are what we call spurs. You notice that sometimes those buds are slightly smaller, and they, in some cases and on many varieties, they produce fruit which are just slightly smaller than what are produced on a short shoot or a terminal. And you can sort of see the difference in the bud size there. It does suggest a difference, even though it's small. In saying that, both spurs and terminal buds give very high quality fruit, and it's those buds that we wish to select when we're using spur extinction. It is reasonable to consider that the bigger the bud, the higher the growth potential. And so when we would be doing spur extinction, we would be removing spurs or terminal shoots which are in the least advantageous positions for sunlight, and also removing the weakest buds. So as well as wanting to space out the buds in a particular direction. So in a branch like this, if I was having to remove say 4 or 5 buds, I'd immediately begin by taking things which are sitting underneath, and then I'd be looking at buds which look like they're smaller and weaker, and I'm beginning to think about spacing as well. So once I've got rid of the weaker buds, or the ones in less good positions, then I might be a bit more concerned about spacing. So you see here, so what I've done, essentially I don't know, I'm not actually trying to set a specific density, but I'm just showing you what can happen in terms of the spatial arrangement. So what we've done now is more or less what most growers would be doing after chemical thinning, and in late November, around that time after final fruit drop, they would be coming through and doing that by removing fruit rather than removing buds. So we would expect we could have fruit set up on all of those buds that were sitting there, and we have to thin off some and reduce the numbers. Here we've actually done the majority of that job even before the outset. And our understanding from the work that we've done so far, and this is with ourselves and with cooperators from TR in Tasmania and from Stanthorpe in Queensland, where we're working in those regions as well, and some New Zealand work also, we do know that when we do reduce the number of buds like we're doing here, we improve the fruit set of these buds, and we find that we get quality and fruit growth advantages from doing that. And we are able to get good return bloom as a result as well, because the tree is in a semi-thin state and it's far less inclined to go into the normal biennial bearing problems, because in fact it doesn't have the number of fruit on that it would typically have when it's unmodified.